Assalamu alaikum. Welcome my students, 10th grade, again to your English classes with your teacher Dania Hassan. In this video we're going to have language focus 2 in your student book pages 89 and 106 and page 80 in your workbook. In our lesson today we're going to learn reported questions and indirect questions. Now you need to open your student book page 89. As we can see, the title for our lesson is Reported Questions. We have to complete the examples from the listening on page 88. As you can see here, we have table with direct questions and reported questions. Number 1, the direct question is, were you scared? I also asked him if he'd been scared. Next one, how did you catch the robber? I asked him how. Here we have, or the tense here is past simple. Past simple changes to past perfect. He had done, or he had caught the robber. The last question is, why is James's evidence so important? I asked the police why James's evidence is present. The present simple changes to past simple. So James's evidence was so important. Let's move to the next exercise. We have to look at the direct reported questions in exercise 1. Then complete the rules. The first rule is, in reported yes or no questions, we use if or when. Let's move back. This is the first question, yes or no question. We used if. So we use if. Number 2, the word order is the same or different in direct and reported questions. Let's move back. Were you scared? Were, the auxiliary verb, subject, then the verb. In reported questions, if, subject, then the verb. So the order is different. Number 3, the tense changes or doesn't change in reported questions. Of course, it changes. Let's move back. The first 2 questions in past simple, we changed them to past perfect. Here from present to past, so the tense changes. Finally, reported questions have or don't have question marks. Of course, they don't have question marks, as you can see here, without all the questions, without the question marks. Now, you have to move quickly to page 106, grammar reference. The first point is, when we report questions, we usually make the same changes to the verb forms, pronouns, and time references as when we report statements. So we have to change the tense, we have to change the pronouns and the time as we had in reported statements. Next point is, when we report questions with a question word, we don't add an auxiliary verb, and the word order is the same as in affirmative sentences. So when we have WH questions in the direct questions and need to change the question to reported one, we put the same WH question. What to what, when to when. We don't have to add any auxiliary verb, but the order or the word order will change. It will be the same as affirmative sentences. Like, he asked me what I'd done at the weekend. He asked me is the reporting verb. What, the WH question. As you can see, the order is the same with the affirmative sentence, subject, verb, then the complement. Here we have the adverb. Next, when we report yes or no questions, we use if. So, when we don't have WH question, we have to put if. Like, did you tell the truth? They asked him. This is the reporting verb. if, because here we don't have any WH question. We have auxiliary verb. So if he, here is the tense is past, so we have to change it to past perfect. If he had told the truth. Next point, we don't use a question mark in reported questions. As you can see here, we don't have a question or a question mark. Like, where did you go after school? My parents asked me where. Here we have WH question, so we have to put the same word, where I have been after school. We don't have any question mark. Now please move back to page 89. Next time we're going to have indirect questions. Question number 3 or exercise number 3, we have to look at the police officer's questions. Put the words in order to complete the reported questions. Number 1, what time did you leave home? We have home, had, what, she, time, left. So we have to put them in order. He asked her, what time, then the subject, then the verb, then the complement or the object. So, what time she had left home. Number 2, were you alone? We have been, if, she alone, and had. Here we don't have WH word or WH question, so we have to put if at first. He asked her, if, then the subject she, then the verb had been, finally alone. So, if she had been alone. Number 3, do you have a criminal record? Here we also don't have WH question. So we have to put if at first. So if, then the subject. If she had, if she had a criminal record. Number 4, did anybody see you? Here we don't have a question word, so we have to put if. So he asked her if anybody had seen her. Finally, why didn't you call the police immediately? We have here the WH question, which is why. So he asked her, why? Why didn't you? The subject here is you, which is she. Why she hadn't called the police immediately. Now please move to your workbook, page 80. Let's start with the first question. Circle the correct words in the table. Today we're going to have question number 1 and number 2. Circle the correct words in the table. When we report a question, we usually use the verb ask or tell, of course, ask. In reported yes or no questions, we put the word that or if after the reporting verb when we in reported yes or no questions. So, if. In reported questions, we change or don't change the tense of the direct question. We have to change. So we change the tense. The word order is or isn't the same. Isn't the same. It's different. The subject or the verb comes before the subject or the verb. So the subject comes before the verb as affirmative sentence. We use or we don't use an auxiliary verb. We don't use an auxiliary verb. Finally, we put or we don't put a question mark. We don't have to put a question mark. Now please move to the next question. Read the direct questions from a police interview. Complete the reported questions. Number 1. Where did the mugging take place? The detective asked me. Where? Here we have WH question, so we have to put the same. Where? The tense here is in past, so we have to change it to past perfect. The subject here is mugging, so where the mugging have taken place. Number 2, have you noticed anyone following you? Here we don't have question word or WH word, so we have to put if. She asked me if I had noticed anyone following me. Here the tense is present perfect. We have to change it to past perfect. Number 3, can you describe the man? She asked me. Here we don't have WH word, so we have to put if. Here we have can, so we have to change can to could. So she asked me if I could describe the man. Number 4, what kind of phone is it? She asked me what kind of phone it was. You have to complete the rest as the same way. The deadline for your homework is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Next time, please prepare the rest of the lesson, which is indirect questions. See you next time. Goodbye.